Morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. We're going to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, February 15th. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we will accept any public comment for items not appearing on the agenda. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will accept public comment as each item is under consideration. Any additions to the agenda at this time? No. Okay, we're hearing none. Would there be a motion to approve our minutes from our Tuesday, February 8th meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion has carried. Okay. We're going to welcome up our Director of Emergency Management, Jeff Warren, at this time for two items on our agenda. Morning, Jeff. Eat whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
A couple items to cover here. The first would be the new distribution management plan. And this is a new plan that's been, was actually some events with hurricanes brought it to a point where FEMA decided it was mandatory and would be a good idea. So it started actually several years ago. It finally made its way down to the counties within Pennsylvania. The plan's based on a template that FEMA came up with. And what we'd like to do is add this plan as appendix to the county emergency operations plan upon adoption by the commissioners. And like I said, this plan would also, like the rest of the emergency operations plan, then be utilized by local municipalities also if they would like to. Just a little background. Large-scale disasters and the pandemic, of course, have proved that they disrupt normal supply chains and trigger the need for temporary relief supply chains that address critical emergency commodities such as food, water, fuel, and PPE. So, and the normal supply private sector chains don't exist during those events, or at least for some period of time. So this is just a plan. It's another tool for us. It's general guidance. We would still adjust to any specific need. Such as what we did with the PPE for the pandemic. And that's really about it. I hope you've had time to review it. Like I said, it ties in with the points of distribution, which also tie in with our Department of Health. We had those before. This is a little bit more specific. A lot of good ideas in here, and we'll just be better prepared from now on. So I'd ask the board to adopt that plan.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay. We'll go to the second item, and then we'll take both of them as one motion.
And the next item, I would ask the board electronically endorse the 2020 to 2022 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement. There's several stages. This is the agreement. We have applications. We have a budget for this that come at other points during the year. Normally, this is only in effect for 1 year, and probably due to the pandemic, it's been pushed out a little further. So the period for this is from October 1st, 2020 through March 30th, 2022. And the amount of this grant is $105,343. This grant, as used by our county, augments the salary and benefits of the emergency management staff. So I would ask the board that they approve that and also electronically endorse that grant agreement.
I think we already have received the email from PEMA or DCD, whoever it is, and we'll sign it upon the consent agenda next week. So, yep, sounds good. Any questions or comments on that item as well?
I can answer my question about the one email that just sort of came up out of the blue. Yeah.
We typically get them a few weeks ahead of time,
Yeah.
so, okay.
That's fine.
All right. Well, we will look for a motion to add them both to next week's consent agenda.
Motion to add the Center County Distribution Management Plan and the Federal Fiscal Year 2021 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further conversation? Yes, please.
I just want to say thank you to Jeff and your department for helping out during the Cadillac Building fire. I know you're all down there involved in that, so just want to recognize your help. Yes, thank you.
And on that
Absolutely,
note,
yep.
Commissioners, I'd also like to thank Natalie Corman and also Quentin in the Office of Aging and Brian Query in the Department of Veterans Affairs. They were also a very big help. And the transportation services provided vans.
Excellent. Thank you. Great teamwork there. Absolutely. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Perfect segue into welcoming Natalie up for several items for adult services and CYS. Good morning, Natalie.
Morning. So the first contract I have is with Calvary Church to do a home repair service. So this is the 6-month piloted program that was developed during our retained Human Service Block Grant funding that we put through that plan in December for. So the idea behind this is to be able to assist individuals who might just need some minor home repairs in their home, to be able to maintain the ability to stay in their home, as we are continually trying to make sure that people can stay in the homes that they currently reside in. And Calvary, for a lot of their outreach work that they do, often hear about homes that could need that type of assistance. And so we're partnering with them because it's an automatic kind of referral system for us, as well as the ability for us to do additional referrals within our own human services world. But then they would be responsible for all the work in terms of the bids and everything to do the home repair service. And so again, it's a pilot program to see if it's successful for us. And that's why the contract is just from January 1st through June 30th, 2022.
They line up the contractors and do all
They,
that.
yep. Yeah, they do that a lot with their city serve, which is volunteer driven, as well as some other work that they do in the community. That's why they already have some of the contacts for the bids.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll look for a motion to add it to next week's consent agenda.
Motion to add the contract with Calvary Church to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay.
Sure. So on behalf of Children and Youth, I have 4 contracts that are specific to the need for residential services. So as we go throughout our fiscal year, we often do our contracts within the rates release, as well as when we've had and needed one of these providers to do that. So we would be doing that with Affinity Forensics, Hopes, Haven Residential Services, Summit School, and then Tour Youth and Family Services, all in regards to our residential. These contracts all total $418,000, with the county share being $94,000.
Thank you, Natalie. Is there a motion?
Motion to add the Children and Youth Services items 1 through 4 to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. We'll look for a motion to approve our one item on our consent agenda for a public defender's office.
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Moving into our ABCs, we have several. We have for our local emergency planning committee, Matt Coiler, looking to appoint him. For our MHID advisory board, we're going to reappoint Laura Gardner and also thank Rebecca Shepsky for her service and accept her resignation. For our airport authority, we'll be looking to appoint George Corey to fill the unexpired term of Bruce Pincus. That'll last until the end of this year. And then we have 7 appointments, or reappointments, I should say, for the Federation of Public Libraries Board of Trustees. We have Kim Fragola, Helen DeFilippis, Sharon Rovansek, Carl Inglesby, Barbara Ziff, and also 2 of our colleagues, Commissioner Dersham and Administrator Gray on this list here. We thank them for their service, especially on this board, and this is going to be running through the year of 2022. So we look for a motion to approve the resignations, appointments, and reappointments.
Motion to approve the authorities, boards, and commissions, resignation, appointments, and reappointments.
I will second
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion has carried. Okay. This time we're going to welcome up Liz Lose and Peter Butler to provide us a broadband demonstration, let us know how the progress is going. As we just launched this recently, Liz was here last week to speak on it, so we're going to turn it over to them. And a little PSA on...
Driving?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
That and I have a pointer, so.
Excellent, okay.
Yeah, you might want to. Yeah, well, we really appreciate the opportunity to come down and give this demonstration. This comes in a timely manner, with the announcement last week and the rollout. We are getting questions about the survey itself. What you're looking at on screen right now is just our general broadband information from the planning office's website. So this will give you the background and the scope of work when it comes to the project itself. It's just a general overview to do that explanation of what the purpose is. So for the survey itself, though, if we want to just really launch into taking the online speed test, this can be accessed a couple ways, naturally through the county's website at this link, or just going online to the centercountypa.speedsurvey.org. Again, CTC, they have set up the explanation as far as what the background is before you even start the survey. The survey itself is fairly straightforward, but there have been questions regarding the reporting type. So this is really a good opportunity to better explain how it's set up and how your choices and the options are going to change based on the reporting type. So you have options A and options B. So when you're when you're reporting an address with no available internet service providers, you'll see down here that you kind of have a different set of factors that you can put in. There's the location information, and we get down to the service section. We know that those individuals do not have service. But one of the things that we want to know from the feedback is if they were going to pay for a service, what would they want to pay? And this is a critical factor that CTC is collecting on the affordability front. So, and if you have any questions about that, we can give further explanation at the work session later today. But when we scroll back up, when you go to the reporting type for B, when you're performing the speed test, when you know that you have service, it's pretty straightforward again, where you're going to enter your location. So, your house number, address, and the town. This is all going to be collected by CTC on their back end, that they have their GIS staff that can do that mapping applicability. When you do the reporting type that you know that you have service and you want to take the speed test, your options for how you answer the survey slightly change. And then that gets down into the service where you have different drop menus. So if you want to go ahead and give them a demo of, so for example, the first option is if you have service, we do want to know what you're paying for that service. So it gives you a range of options, and this was just something that CTC advised. They didn't need to know to the exact amount. They'll be able to ascertain within these price ranges whether or not people are overpaying for the price of service that they are paying. And then it'll help them generate the figures that they need to do. So if you just want to pick a price range, just for the purposes, there we go. So this next one, the question is, if your internet service is unreliable, it's very straightforward. It's going to be yes or no. We have heard anecdotally from residents from the email and from phone calls and letters of mail. It's kind of an objective question, but it's simply yes or no. We've heard of multiple disruptions among a certain carrier, so we imagine that those individuals that have that service, they're going to be answering no to a certain extent. So we can just pick yes or no. We were able to provide a list of the internet service providers that we know are operating here in Center County. And again, this is another factor that is going to help us narrow down through this drop-down list of different providers kind of what the coverage area is, to be able to pinpoint who's operating where, and also based on the company, we have an idea of how that service is being delivered, if it's going to be through cable, wireless, fiber optic. Again, this comes into those factors of coverage and connectivity. And then finally, with the device, we know that there are some households that they simply have, no access at all. They don't have devices. There's many households that have multiple devices. This is going to require the respondent to pick that device that they use most often. And this will also help us kind of ascertain how that connectivity is taking place. So at this point, you can hit on go, and it's going to run the speed test component for the survey respondent. There is a little bit of lag time in between, but you can see that, after the download, typically the download happens quite fast. It's often the upload component that takes a little bit longer. Yep, and then you can go ahead and hit submit. And then it just kind of gives you that receipt that you went ahead and completed the survey. So, do we have the paper survey also? Again, this is an example of the paper version of the survey. We have had a couple paper surveys already returned back to the planning office. Peter was able to get out and deliver a number of paper surveys to some municipal partners and to one of the school districts. So, despite all the technology, we are still, in some events where we don't have, residents don't have access. Again, this is where the survey paper version comes into play. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. We're about a week into this. We just wanted to give another reminder to folks out in our community to take the test. Again, the more data we can get, the better argument that we're going to be able to make to state and federal partners to draw down some of those grant dollars to get some expanded broadband to more places in Center County. So appreciate the time. Any questions, Gary, for Liz or Peter?
Are you hearing more from residents or commercial or combination?
I would say mostly residents. It's predominantly residents in our experience, although we are in close contact with the school districts, who, in a way are larger entities, so.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, we appreciate your time today, and again, we'll look forward to updates as we come through the next several weeks. So thank you again for your time today. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Peter.
All right, we'll turn things over to Commissioner Higgins for our check run today.
We have substantially smaller than average check run in the amount of $576,968.96. The check of the week, maybe for Natalie Corman here, is to Housing Transitions, Inc. 3 different checks totaling $13,590.81 for their walk-in, bridge, and ASP services from back in January. I very much appreciate Housing Transitions out of the cold and a number of the other temporary housing providers in Center County. I know at this point they could certainly use some additional volunteers between the weather and the current upswing in homelessness in Center County. So wanted to get that out there to our CNET audience. Would like to make the motion to approve the check run dated February 11th.
I will second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve today's check run. Any final discussion on the check run? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. And Margaret, we'll turn it over to you for an update on our testing site.
Yes, just a quick update to let everyone know that the AMI testing site located at the recycling center will remain open at least through the end of February. There are discussions ongoing right now with DOH about the possibility of keeping this going through the month of March, but more to come on that. So just for now, we're Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. At the recycling center.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Great news. Okay, and over to Commissioner Dershowitz for a voter registration.
All right, we have this morning 105,079 registered voters in Center County. That's comprised of 44,088 Democratic registrations, 147 Green Party, 664 Libertarian, 14,157 no affiliation, and 42,162 Republican voters, which when you add the 3,861 other small parties together, you get the 105,079 registered voters. Of the small parties, I would like to recognize the Social Democrat Party in Center County. And the Social Democrat Party has one registered voter in Center County, so I want to recognize them. And to move on to the precinct report, we have precinct number 55, which is Half Moon Township proper. They voted at the municipal building. And in the last election, there were total registered voters of 895 total. And then the total ballots cast were 369, which led to a percentage voter turnout of 41.23%. And again, we want to thank the Half Moon Township supervisors and all the folks up there to make it happen in their municipal building. But the folks that really make it happen in precinct number 55, the judge of elections is Daniel Perkins. The minority inspector is Donald Juker, and the majority inspector is Tammy Perkins, and the clerk is Stephen Warner. And we want to thank them for their help, and we'll be seeing in just a little while. And I'll leave with the last. I don't know if it's totally the public is totally aware yet, but it looks like we do not have a specified date for the beginning of the petition period for this election cycle. So stay tuned as the state Supreme Court works through that process, and you'll start seeing folks carrying their petitions out. And we were talking a little earlier. We have not only the statewide candidates, but we also have folks in the local communities that are running for political office, if you will, with either precinct leaders or folks in the chairman or vice chairman of the party. So stay tuned. So
Yes,
there you
more to
go.
come. Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Any announcements or executive sessions for us to report? None? Okay. Okay. Gary, anything before we adjourn?
Stephen, I guess follow up same question I asked last week. The Supreme Court order is only for the petition period. It does not impact, at this point, any other phase of election
That's
day?
all I've heard, yes. And until they work through the maps and get everything specified, then at some point they will allow the candidates to start circulating petitions.
The county's still preparing as if the date for the primary is still the date.
I don't think that's changing. I don't think you're going to see a change in the primary election day, but you will see, a little bit of variance in the way that the petition process operates. It might be a little tighter, closer to the election this year.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the board, we would look for a motion to adjourn at this time.
Motion to adjourn at 10:23.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. Have a nice day.